About a half hour ago, I tried to upload a video to YouTube that was just me flapping my jaws the whole time. And I was talking about my early 20s when I was a club DJ. And yesterday, Daft Punk retired after 28 years. He was an artist, a recording artist that I used to love when I was a club DJ. And I would play him all the time. It's kind of a staple. And so I saw he retired, and I kind of went back and was listening to some of his older music that I used to listen to back in late 90s, early 2000s. And I was like, whoa, this is good stuff. No wonder I used to play it all the time when I was DJing, especially One More Time, the song called One More Time. Check that out on YouTube, Daft Punk, One More Time. And just kind of watch it. And I get the feeling, that was recorded in 2000, and I get the feeling that I've always felt that whatever we're going through right now, like originally was planned maybe for the year 2000, and it just didn't work because humanity was still too strong and we hadn't been overcome by digital and the internet yet. So they knew they couldn't pull this crap off back then. But the song just, it rings to me as kind of like one more time to celebrate the humanity that we were. And then this transition is happening, and there's going to be a huge split. There's going to be a huge split. And this is like our one more time to just kind of celebrate the past for what it was, but to really look forward into the direction that we want to go as people of God, because the world is going in a different direction. And I contend that the split has already happened. You know, I live in denial a lot of times in my life, and I shield myself from reality at times. I think a lot of people do it just to avoid mental anguish or confusion or just whatever, especially with what we've been through in the last year. Like you kind of go in a hole and shield yourself. Well, so for me, the split is only apparent when I go out in public, which I avoid doing these days as much as humanly possible, unfortunately. But so I've been shielded from a lot of the reality of how bad this chasm is between, people that understand this has all been a bunch of bullshit from the very beginning, this whole agenda, and see it for what it is, and then the rest of the world that just goes along with everything at face value and doesn't ask a question and never has and never will. And they're broken now. They're broken. We've all been through trauma-based mind control. That's what they've been doing to us for years. It's called trauma-based mind control. And it breaks your brain, and then they rebuild your brain the way they want it to be. And they've done it on a worldwide scale. It's unbelievable. And it worked. It worked. It's over. The split has happened. I really think so. And I was talking to a friend yesterday about this, and she was telling me, man, like I said, I live in denial because in my life, it's very small. And, I was with my girlfriend, who's now my ex, and we basically believed all the same things. And she's very anti-VAXX, and she didn't wear a mask and all those things. I mean, she doesn't go along the lines of some of the crazier stuff I talk about. She may not agree with a lot of that, but she was there with me on that. Like, we're not getting vaxxed and we're not wearing masks unless we absolutely have to. And I just didn't. So, and then my parents, are right along with me too on everything. So, and my brother, who lives in Eastern Europe, he is too. My son and his mom are a different story, and that's a challenge. But my point is that for the most part, I don't see a lot of the other side of the world. I just see the side that I understand, and that the people listening to me, you guys will understand, is that nothing's changed. I've not changed. I'm the same guy I was, for the most part a year ago. I mean, I'm in a lot better place spiritually and emotionally, but I haven't changed the way I look, at the world at all. I've stayed the same. And everything else has changed. Everything else has changed to the point of being unrecognizable. And so I was talking to this friend of mine yesterday. She was telling me she's got a friend that is in the exact opposite scenario as me, wherein, all the people closest to me for the most part are anti-vax and understand the agenda. And for this individual, it's the exact opposite. And she's getting phone calls and texts from all of her family all day long asking, when are you going to go get the shot? When are you getting the jab? You got to go get it. These are all the reasons. She's just being like bombarded and under attack. Like it's the exact opposite of my reality. And these people, the vax people, are evangelizing the vax because they really believe it, and nothing will get them off that. Nothing you could say or do. Nothing. It's a complete opposite of how we feel, just like nothing could change how we feel. Nothing could at this point. We've dug in. We're where we're at. And it's exactly what the social engineers of this world wanted to do, is to split society, split it right down the middle. I mean, they split us in every direction, right? They split us men, women, they split race, white, black, they split politics, left, right. But this split is the split. This is the split. We're now the lepers of society. I was seeing that all of a sudden on my YouTube channel, they're starting to plaster, I don't even want to say the word, it's a letter. It's the 17th letter of the alphabet, and then anonymous, anon. They're starting to plaster warnings about that on my videos, as though I'm promoting that agenda, because I've mentioned it a few times. And on my Mark of the Beast article, I discuss it because it's a thing. The 17th letter of the alphabet, anon, is a thing. And so just by discussing it, now they plaster on a lot of my videos that all the warnings of me and that. And so that's what they're doing. And it's working. They're making everybody who doesn't go along with their bullshit crap a QAnon. Damn it, I said it. A 17th letter of the alphabet, anon. Terrorist. All of us. Boy, did they pull that one off, huh? Wasn't that cute? That fake nonsense on JAN6, that fake nonsense that I watched with my own eyes and nothing happened. It was all a bunch of bullshit. Nobody was there hardly. It's all fake. It's all fake. And now they're using that to tie us all into that. And we're the lepers. We're the lepers. Get used to it. We're the lepers. Hey, I'm good with it because I can't stand that society anymore. I want to be a leper. But yeah, so she was telling me that story. And as she's telling me what this friend of hers is dealing with, I'm just shaking my head. I'm like, I was hurt by it. And I said to her, I said, I think I know why I shield myself from this so much, or maybe God helps shield me from it, is because I have a lot of empathy. It's just built into me. It's just who God made me. I have empathy for people. It's why it's so hard for me to go in society and see everybody walking around like masked zombies, because I feel their pain. I feel their defeat. I feel their defeat. I see the defeat of humanity, and I can't absorb it. And so I listened to her story yesterday about this friend of hers, and I couldn't absorb it. I'm like, damn it, I didn't know it was this bad. I didn't know it was this bad. I'm in denial. Maybe the split isn't the split yet, but so I prayed about it this morning, and God is really telling me the split. I think the split happened, and I'm not saying He still can't bring people over to the truth. I think there's a small remnant that maybe is still ready to hear it, and the reason I say that, sometimes I can't remember what I've said in videos and what I've said in phone conversations. So if I repeat myself, sometimes I'm sorry, but I know everybody doesn't listen to all my videos anyway, so it doesn't really matter. The reason I believe that there still could be some people that can be opened up to the truth is because simply, just like I always say, I trust my own senses and I trust what I see. And when I do go out and I am around people and I do go into stores and I do go, talk to masked people working behind, mostly it's what I do when I'll talk to the people behind the counter, the cashiers and stuff like that, because I know they're standing there all day miserable. I know they are. They can't stand wearing that thing, but nobody complains and nobody says anything about it. And that's what I've learned. Like there's this remnant of people that are just suffering and dealing with it because they think everybody else isn't having a problem with it. And so they just keep doing it. So I always bring it up. I do it so simply. Try it sometime. Next time you're like in the grocery store or gas station or whatever, and you're at the counter, and instead of just being a robot like we all do, just what I always say is, how do you wear that all day? Isn't it? Because I'm never wearing a mask, you know? So I just real nicely, like, how do you wear that all day? I can't breathe with one on at all. And I'm telling you, almost every single time, their eyes, of course, you can't see if they're smiling or anything like that, but, you know, the individual's eyes will light up and look right at you, whereas, you know, they probably haven't looked directly at the last 150 customers that have gone through the line, and they'll look right at you, and almost every time they'll be like, yeah, you know, it's horrible. I can't do this. It's horrible, and nobody else is complaining about it. Am I the only one suffering? You know? That's the reaction I normally get from normal people, you know, from just normal people that are suffering through this, not understanding what the hell's going on. Nobody said anything to them. Nobody's even brought it up. So I think doing small things like that can make a little difference, you know, and I've done that. And if conversation strikes up, I'll share my YouTube channel or whatever, or my website, and just say, check out some of this information and let me know, you know, if it resonates with you, that's cool. If not, whatever. But I think it'll interest you. And that's just what I do. I don't do it a lot because I don't go out a lot. But when I do, I always try to take the opportunity. So I haven't given up. I'm just saying from our perspective and what we want to do in the new world we want to build and be a part of, that's outside of the system that the World Economic Forum and whatever else. I still think the World Economic Forum Great Reset Plan is a decoy for sure. It's the fake thing. It's because they've put it out there way too mainstream. I think it's a decoy, just like I think Bill Gates is a decoy. I made a video on that way back on Expose Bill Gates Day, I think last June. But so I think it's all a decoy. But at the same time, you know, I think we could still do these things. We could still try to help people. That's all I look at it as anymore. I'm not trying to save the old society. I'm not trying to, because that's gone. It's not coming back. We're not ever again going to be able to mesh with the vast majority of people. It's literally masked zombies. They showed us all the zombie movies for years and years. Well, welcome to it, because that's what we're in. This is a bunch of zombies. Nobody looks at each other. Can't smile at each other. Nobody talks. You know, you go press buttons on even when you're in a line and standing 2 feet from a person that's standing there to assist you, right? But you're still not looking at it. You're staring at that stupid little card screen the whole time and pressing 18 different buttons. It's so stupid. So stupid what we do. God, think about it. It's insanity. And all the rules everywhere, all the damn rules, like we're in kindergarten. I mean, there's always been a shit ton of rules all over the place. I've always made fun of all the rules, all the signs, rules. You think you get out of school and you're an adult, right? And you have freedom and bullshit. It's the same stuff. It's just in the world now instead of in the kindergarten classroom. And that's what it's always been. And now it's just, you know, you walk around in a grocery store and you're hearing, wash your hands, stay 6 feet apart. You know, I said this, I think, in a tweet a few days ago. One time I was I was shopping by myself. This was months ago, probably, I don't know, around election time or something. And sometimes I just lose it, you know. And so I'm shopping in this big old grocery store, and everybody's wearing masks, and it's all just a bunch of nonsense, and there's no music. You know, I always used to like grocery store music. I always liked grocery store music. I thought it was kind of chill, you know. They don't do that anymore, you know, where I shop anyway. They just play a loop cycle of this dystopian woman telling you to wash your hands and stay 6 feet apart and keep everybody safe. And so I'm trying to get in and out of this crap hole as quick as I can and listening to this. And I was in a bad mood to begin with about something. And this is what happened. This blew my mind. I was walking into towards the checkout area, and there was a good, I don't know, it's pretty busy. There was a good 10 to 15 people within a decent distance of me, and I couldn't stand listening to this dystopian voice coming through the speakers anymore. And I have a really loud voice. I don't yell very often. When I yell, it scares people. And like my ex would tell you, like it just zaps kind of through the room. It just zaps through you. And it's just a horrible feeling because when I get to that point where I'm that angry, which I really never do. But when I do, it just blasts, Well, that happened in the grocery store that day. And I yelled at the top of my lungs, "Shut the up." And I used the real word as loud as I could. And it just bubbled out of me. I wasn't planning on it. And as soon as I did it, I was like, crap, and I looked around. Nobody even reacted. Nobody looked at me. Nobody anything. They just kept going. It's like it didn't even happen. They didn't even hear it. I couldn't believe it. I was like, man, I'd have been laughing. I would have something if somebody would have done that within 10 feet of me and yelled like that. I guarantee you the whole store probably heard it, and nobody looked. So that's what I couldn't believe it. That was when I was like, really, we are in zombie land. I could do whatever I want right now. I could probably strip off my clothes and start running around naked and nobody would notice. That's really, I think, how far we've gone. It's crazy because they wouldn't want to offend me or something. If I'm running around naked, they wouldn't want to offend me. I don't freaking know. It's insanity. So anyway, that split, I think, is done. And the videos I've been making and the podcasts I've been making is really for the people who understand and are on the side of truth and understand it's time to build our new world and to start giving up on the masked zombies. And if they're in your family and you've tried for a year, you got to admit, man, they've only gotten worse. They've only dug in more. And so have you. Like I said a few days ago, if they come to you, like with this friend of mine's friend, her family coming to her, constantly bombarding her with information about how good the vaccine is, that's not going to change her mind. It's just going to alienate her further from her entire friends and family. So that's why it's so important that we really get together and band together. And I don't care if we agree on everything. None of us are ever going to agree on anything. And I kind of hate what I see happen in the little echo chambers that happen on social media, because social media is made to create echo chambers. It's funny because I had my big Twitter account under Beast System Revealed, and I lost that December 8th. And then I just left. I sat off Twitter for 2 months. And then I started a brand new account under Revelation Free Radio. And within 2 days of starting a brand new account after being off Twitter for 2 months, basically all the same people that I used to know and followed me and all that, there they all were. They just started to, it's just the echo chamber recreated itself really quickly within a few days. Of course, Scott Baio helped that. It was a funny story. My very first day back on Twitter, I just made a random post and I didn't tag him and I didn't anything, but I told this story maybe last week, but, and I just said Scott Baio is the new right-wing version of Alyssa Milano. He's just kind of an instigator like Alyssa Milano did on the left. That's what he kind of does on the right. And I just said that. I just pointed that out kind of in a goofy way. And I didn't tag him. I didn't nothing. Well, he found it. I had 42 followers at the time. I had, day one coming back on, or maybe day two. I don't remember, but I had 42 followers. And Scott Baio found that somehow and then retweeted it and called me a dickhead. And I was like, well, thanks, Scott. Got 500,000 followers, and maybe some people won't think that's such a dickhead thing I said, and they'll realize that's true. And sure enough, got me a bunch of followers by doing that. And then our little feud went a little deeper, and then it was kind of fun, actually. He was kind of fun to quarrel with. But my point is that, that same echo chamber came right back. And so social media is made to do that. And we all know that. And so the other side, they're in the same echo chamber. And if you really, really want to experience it, go into it. Go into their echo chamber. I do it all the time. And that's when I get, see, people make fun of Twitter, but Twitter is really where it all starts. All the news you see all starts on Twitter. That's where all the reporters go to get all their news. It's not news anymore. It's just reporting on Twitter. That's what news is. Everything you see on Twitter throughout the day, you see on news at night. They're just scraping stuff off Twitter. Anybody can be a reporter. That's when I was running avoidthemark.com last year, and I was doing it more as a news site. And that's what I did. I could put out 4, 5, 6 articles a day, just scraping stuff off, breaking stuff off Twitter. That's all they do. So go in the other echo chamber and see it and kind of toy around with it a little bit. Be respectful. I'm always respectful. I really am. But I challenge them still a little bit here and there, just to gauge how far things are really gone. And they're really far gone. There's no discussion whatsoever. Like, my only hope with doing that sometimes is that somebody else just comes across it and reads it and sees it, and doesn't necessarily react, because a lot of people see what you put out there that you never know about. Thousands of people do. I'm sure of it. So, but yeah, you check out that echo chamber, and then if they check out our echo chamber, it's two different societies. It really is. We're there. Ours is really small. Again, I'm an optimist, and a big part of me wants to believe ours is pretty big, is 50% or more, but I don't think so. I don't think so anymore. I think there's a certain percentage of the maskless, of the masked people that are kind of like, the sleeping giant Trump voters from 2016, where nobody thought he had a chance, and they just stayed in hiding, and then came out at the last minute with, and all voted Trump, and everybody was shocked. And I think there's a percentage of people that are masked that are that way, that the mask is as far as they're going to go. Like, they know they're not taking the vaccine. They know they're not going any farther than that. It's just the mask is as far as they're going to go. Well, I was warning about that a long time ago, last year, saying you start doing the mask and they're going to slow walk you into everything else. And don't, if you think you could draw the line at the mask, you're going to be surprised, because they're going to walk you into the rest of it real slowly. So draw the line now, I kept saying, but a lot of people didn't. But I still think there might be a percentage of people that might be their ultimate line and might hold to that. But again, not many. And then they're going to have to find us, because we're not going to know anymore at that time. We really need to focus on that. That's what God is really telling me. God is telling me to start ministering to his people. Now, maybe that's just my personal mission, and the idea of evangelizing people that are dug in on the other side as deep as they are. Maybe that's someone else's job, and it's not mine. And maybe you have a drive and a passion to still do that. I'm not saying don't do it. If God is telling you to do it, do it. But he's going to have to give you a lot of strength for that, because it's going to be very frustrating and emotionally defeating, I think. So I think, everything I've been talking about is leading us toward figuring out our world. And I don't want to talk a lot about those specifics, because I have been in prior podcasts. Just go to avoidthemark.com/podcast. Again, avoidthemark.com/podcast. I put out a couple a day. Yesterday I was turning them out, several, maybe 3 on Sunday. But I go through a lot of the plans and ideas of where we're going as this new society, as this remnant that we are, the maskless remnant. So silly, man. Who would have ever thought it? Who would have ever thought, sitting here this time last year, that in 1 year there'd be 2 different societies, and one of them would be the vast majority, and they'd walk around like zombies. Who would have thought it? But here we are. So go back and listen to some of those, please, if you'd like, and we'll get some ideas. But and I want ideas. I want people to share ideas. Like, I'm spitballing. I'm following what God is telling me and with the word he tells me, and I'm spitballing, and I'm hoping some of the ideas I'm throwing out there are resonating, and maybe, I was encouraged, and I don't know if I had anything to do with this or not, but if I did, it's really cool. Last night, a Twitter friend of mine sent me a tweet from someone else, and it was a guy who had tweeted this like 17 hours ago, and he said, day one, starting day one, so he was just starting now, 7 days without porn. 7 days without porn. And I looked and I was like, okay, wow, like that was, so he posted that 2 hours after I published my podcast about how porn has destroyed us men. Porn has destroyed us. If you haven't listened to it, listen to it here on YouTube or on avoidthemark.com/podcast. It's really important for us guys to understand that, because we're going to need to be strong in this new society. We're going to need to be really strong for our women. They're going to need us. They're going to need us. And porn has sucked the living power right out of us, 100%. So go back and listen to that. Anyway, it's really hard to accept that certain people in your life are gone, right? It's a hard thing to accept, but God's going to help us with that. God's going to help us with that. And I think that God is going to bring people into our lives, personally, into our lives, into our real lives, that are going to bring more deep relationships than we've ever had. And we'll only need a few, I think. We won't need 4,000 followers on Twitter to get dopamine hits throughout the day. Maybe get dopamine hits from a really good conversation with somebody you really, really like in person that goes on for 8 hours or something, So I think that's going to be really, really important. Anyway, you guys have a good rest of your day. I'll probably be talking to you later yet today. If not, we'll talk tomorrow. Have a good day. Peace.